Hello, my name is Debbie, Owlandgatorstitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 48. Today is Thursday, February 16th, 2023. This is a video mainly about cross-stitch, sometimes about what I'm reading and watching as well. So I hope everyone has had a good couple of weeks. It's been a little over 2 weeks since my last video. I learned my lesson, and even though I think I can film on Mondays, with the lawnmower guys, even though they mow our lawn, somehow they just ride up and down the street on their lawnmowers and just make a lot of noise on Mondays. So I'm trying to remember not to do it that day because I always get lulled into a sense of tranquility, and then my bubble is always burst. So with that, if you are a new viewer, welcome. I hope that you like what you see, and hopefully it will be quieter this week without all of the lawnmowers. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate all the comments you give me here or all the love that you give me on Instagram as well. I don't post that often there, but when I do, I get a lot of appreciation for what I show. So I am going to jump in with the stitching, but right before I do, I want to announce the winner of my giveaway. So if you recall, oops, and that is upside down. Last time I had a video, it was for my 2 years on YouTube on Flosstube. I'm giving away this armchair ornithologist from Lindy Stitches, along with all of the stickers that I got from the Bird Crush Club. I don't have a complete set. I missed the first month. I joined a month late, and then I may have a sticker or two that's just somewhere lying around because they all got separated from each other. But these are the ones I found, and there's probably at least 10 stickers in there. So I did the random comment picker right before this video, and the winner is Crafty Heather. So if that is you, please send me a message either to my IG account or on to the email below, which is Owlandgatorstitcher, almost together, @gmail.com, and I will get this in the mail to you. So congratulations, this is Crafty Heather. And again, I mentioned this last week. I'm a small channel. I have not suffered a lot of the spam, or haven't suffered any of the spam that other floss tubers have gotten about people trying to say, well, you want to give away and just send me your bank information or pay this or whatever. I haven't gotten any of that. I know I'm small and they probably go after the bigger ones, but nonetheless, I just want everyone to be safe. So I'm not going to reply to your comment. This is Crafty Heather. So please just contact me, and you don't even have to watch the rest of the video if you don't want to, just to give me your mailing address so that I can get this in the mail to you. Okay, with that, I am going to go ahead and show you. You probably have seen from the title of this video, but I do have my first finish of 2023. So this is a small, and this is one I started, I think, at the very end of 2022 because I knew I was going to retreat and I needed a small. And so I wanted to do something, the theme was wild, and I wanted to do something Florida. So I said wild creatures. So this is what I did. So this is from World of Cross Stitching, the issue 320. I think it came out sometime in 2022. It doesn't have an actual date on it, but this is a crop from a larger pattern called Save Our Oceans, and this is just a scrap I had in my stash. I think I got it from a grab bag. It's called Mediterranean. I don't know the dyer. It's a 28 count linen, so I did 2/2. And just a cute little snippet, a little seahorse and the clam and the coral and the fish and everything. So I just thought this would be a sweet little finish. I haven't decided how I'm going to fully finish it. If I'm going to either do, either do it like as an ornament or a flat fold, I haven't decided yet. That is yet to come. But I'm glad that I had this done. I have plenty of time. The retreat I'm going to doesn't take place until May. But I wanted to get this done. To give myself plenty of time because it's been a while since I've FFO'd anything. I have a bit of a stack that I need to work on, and so I probably will practice on the things for myself first before I practice on something I'm giving to someone else. But I'm glad to have this done, and I'm putting it out there now. March is going to be my FFO month. I need to start thinking about how am I going to finish things. I spent a lot of time getting a lot of tools, including a new craft table and all this stuff, and now that I have the tools, I need to actually start using them. So. Again, but I'm very happy with this. Save Our Oceans crop. Okay. All right. So then on to ongoing projects. And for those of you who are new or haven't been around in a while, I participate in a lot of challenge groups on Facebook. And while I do stitch what I want. The prompts sometimes help me make a selection on what I should stitch. And so one of the prompts I had, and sometimes they have penalty stitches and I just do the penalty because I feel like stitching on what I want. But sometimes I'm like, the point of the prompts is maybe to inspire me to pick up something that I haven't picked up in a while. And that's the first piece I'm going to show you. This is Gone Batty from With Thy Needle, Brenda Gervais. So this came out, I don't know, 2019 maybe. And this has been one I've been working on and off for a while. I ran out of the thread for the kitty. And so until I got more of that color and found out it was the same dye lot. Oops, and I'm cutting off what I did. So the prompt I have was something that's upside down. And obviously there's a bat that is upside down, never mind one that is sideways there. So what I worked on this time, it wasn't a huge amount of stitches that I put in. I'm going to fold the kitty to get where I want to show. But basically I filled in most of this flower. I still have the very center to do, all these little orange buds and the green that's here and then coming into this leaf here. So it was only a couple hundred stitches, but it was progress is progress. And again, that cat takes up a lot. And, almost done with this half. And then I have all of there's another bat and a couple more flowers on the other side. And then I will be done. Not sure when I will pick this one up again. But, that's the point of prompt stitching, is it sort of inspires you to pick it up maybe when you wouldn't normally otherwise pick it up. All right. And then another one of my games that I participated in, it was one of the admin's birthdays. And she had it, if you go and pick, look at her album, and if you have anything that matches, throw in 100 stitches and whatever. So I actually had 3 pieces that matched what she had in her album. So that was good. So again, inspired me to pick up this one that I might not have picked up otherwise. This is Ottoman Stars Hollow. This is from the Black Needle Society. And I also have Spring and Stars Hollow, and hopefully soon I will be getting, I think it's summer, I have Summer and Stars Hollow. I'm going to get the spring one soon. I'm really far behind on this. No question about that. But I was able to put in about 200 stitches on this. So what I really started working on this, what I assume is the Dragonfly Inn. Started working on this here, I had done a lot of it, but I put in a lot of this 355, then realized it was over here in Copper Boom, but ran out of time. So I didn't quite finish, and it's only the top half of Copper is in this color, the second half. So I will come back to this at some point, but got a little bit more progress on this. And even though it's not a huge number of stitches, because I have, right now, I'm down to 64 because I have one finished, 64 projects. Ones that I don't work on that often, even if it's only a couple hundred stitches, I like to pull them out and show them to you because you don't get to see them that often. So you probably forgot I had them to begin with. So anyhow, this is Ottoman Stars Hollow. And the next one, this is Haunted Mansion from Tiny Modernist. This is part of a round robin that I am participating in. So we all had to stitch the framework of the house, and the moon, and then we are mailing it around, and we are each either doing a room or one of the trees or the tombstones in the front. And we are now on our first rotation. So I finished the frame of the house and mailed it off to the first person. And here is where I am now. So this is from one member. So I am stitching this room, and there's no order. It's not like everyone does one room and then another room. It's pick what you want to do. So chances are we are going to probably have to stitch something twice and we don't get a chance to stitch something. And I'm totally cool with that. But I really wanted to make sure I did this room because I really want to do the kitty. So the cat is not quite done. I think I still need to put the eyes in. Obviously the witch isn't done. And there's back stitching like these. You can see 2 stitches here because that's actually the body of a spider. And then there's a spider web. So, I have a bit more to do, but this room has gone really quickly. And I've really enjoyed it. This has been a little bit of a challenge because the person whose piece this is does her stitches differently than I do. And so I've given myself that little challenge. She said, do whatever you want. Do what, she's very gracious and said, do what's ever comfortable for you to the whole group. But I want to try and match her stitching. And so I am doing my top leg differently. What is normally my top leg is the bottom leg and vice versa. It's been a little bit of a challenge, but I enjoy stitching challenges. And once I sort of got myself into that rhythm, I obviously have to be conscious when I pick this up. So I like to do this earlier in the day rather than later, so that I'm aware of it. Because if I pick it up, when I'm kind of a little bit tired, I might forget that. And then my stitches will all just look all, I don't want to say googly-eyed, but kind of wampus, I guess is the word I'm thinking of. So better to do it earlier when I'm aware of it. So this has been a lot of fun and just sort of really getting to pull out a lot of different colors in this small space. But again, small colors, but block stitching with those colors. So, and this is my first Tiny Modernist piece, and I'm really enjoying it. So this is Haunted Mansion. I'm not sure I'm going to get a chance to show it to you again before I mail it off to the next person. Depends when I do my next video. But that is Haunted Mansion. Okay. And that was also one of the pieces. I'm sorry, my color is clearly struggling with the lighting today. But that is another one of the pieces that I shared in common. And then the third piece I had was Grand Library. This is the Supersize Max Color. This is artwork by Amy Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And here is, I'm still in the very, very low percentage. I think I'm a little bit over 0.5%. So I started in the bottom right corner. So this is bookshelf. You can sort of start to see that something like a book is coming. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what this is, because even as I put more stitches in, and I've been focusing my stitches in this area, but if the color exists somewhere else in this sort of general vicinity, I'll put it in as well, which is why I've started to build up this book here. I think this is a piece of paper. On like up here, there's another shelf up here, and there's a book with pages that are coming down, and you can clearly see their pages from the book. And I think what this is that last piece of paper. It's very hard to tell even from the photograph. And I have the printout, and the printout, my printer isn't the best, so it's a little bit hard to tell what it is. But I think that's what this is. I could be wrong. It could be something totally different. We'll see it as it comes to life. Obviously, right now, this doesn't look like much of anything. So this one, for that challenge, I put in a couple hundred, but I've also used this for other things. This is a piece that it's not a focus piece, but I do like to pull it out on a regular basis because it will take so long to complete it. So doing a couple hundred stitches here or there eventually will build up. Very slow build up. But nonetheless, this is where I am now with Grand Library. Okay. And then the next piece is one I know I haven't showed in a long time. This is Leela's Studio, Let Freedom Ring, Independence Hall in Philadelphia. And here is where I am now. So most of what I did, I think I had the dark blue in the windows, but I had to finish putting in like the window frames down there. And then I started putting in this color. I am not thrilled with the variegation, but I'm not going to pull it out. I'm using the called for, which I think is Old Cover Bridge or something. In the photo, it looks very red. This is not very red. Now it's sort of looking, if I didn't know the building and know what this picture looks like, I probably would be okay with it because it's sort of a weathered look. I think overall I'll be fine with it. Obviously, if I was really unhappy with it, I would pull it out. This is probably over 500 stitches, but nonetheless, not quite, wasn't expecting so much brown in this building. But nonetheless, I have to go look. Certainly, I think the arches here, the red here, but that are, the pillars for the arches are a different color, and the main part of the building might be a different color as well. So it may just be these side buildings, but I am going to do the call for. I've sort of learned my lesson about trying to color convert on my own. It never seems to work. I'd end up picking a red that was like a bright cherry red, and then I'd be really, really unhappy with it. So and again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm unhappy. I'm just surprised and not necessarily pleasantly surprised. Okay, so anyhow, and I have forgotten to pull the cover for this one, but I think you are familiar with this one. This is, sorry, everything is sticking to the wrong thing. This is Oh Joyous Day by Blackbird Design, so I'm sure many of you are familiar with this project. So I have been working on this bird, finished the bird, finished the alphabet and then started building the house. I did this little pot with the flowers, or not the flowers, sorry, the leaves. I spent a lot of time realizing I had made a mistake somewhere. I could not for the life of me figure out where I made that mistake. But I was doing, I guess, the stems, and I realized it was one off. And the thing that concerned me was, how is that going to affect the placement of the house? The house is not in of itself perfectly centered. I think it's like 3 on one side and 2 on the other side. So it was never going to be even, but I didn't want to end up with like 3 and 1. If that was the case, I was going to move it over. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out where my mistake was, and was counting, off of everything, assumed the bird was in the right place and counted and did all of that, because that's where I started. Finally, where I found the mistake was in the little foot of the bird. There was supposed to be an extra stitch here. So then when I counted the pot, it was 1 stitch too far this way. And I let it go. I realized, again, onward and upward wasn't going to bother me. If that was a mistake, I was more concerned about the placement of the house. So I'm going to pick this up. I really do want to make a lot of progress on this in honor of my 20th wedding anniversary that's coming up. I'm going to, when I pick this up again, hopefully soon, I will continue to work on the house, which it's not a huge house. And it's, once you get sort of the windows and stuff done, it's a solid color. So it should go relatively quickly. So that is Oh Joyous Day. Next piece is Portrait of Veronica by Mirabilia. So this is my oldest non-full coverage project. So I really do want to get this done, sooner rather than later, because it is now approaching its 3rd birthday, and I still haven't done a huge amount on it, but did want to make an effort on it. And then 2, I doubt I am going to get it finished before the Mirabilia retreat in October. But if I do, it'll be great. I'm going to take it no matter what. But I would like to at least get substantial progress before I go to that. Because this is my only Mira that I have others that I've started, but this is the only one that I'm getting a lot of, that I want to be able to show that I've done quite a bit on. And that's for myself. It's not a requirement for the retreat. So here is where I am now. So I finished, last time I was lamenting all the issues I was having with the metallic thread, finished all that off, and brought this piece of furniture. I'm not even sure what you call this piece of furniture, but whatever it is, it's done. Finished the dark part of the dress that was over here. And I've started now, I don't know if you call that an apron, or I don't know, whatever that light colored piece is on the front of the dress. I've started working on that. So I will continue down here and sort of work here, and then until I have to move the Q-snap. It comes over a little bit this way, but this is a blank space in the piece. So not too much longer before I have to move the Q-snap again. So that is Portrait of Veronica. Next piece I have is Evening Romance. And I should have said this earlier when I showed Grand Library as well. So I am in Full Coverage Fanatics. I am doing bingo. They have one, I'm not trying to do a blackout. There is no way. If you are doing it and posting it, you're supposed to do 1,000 stitches for each of them. And I can't do 25,000 stitches in a month, let alone on full coverages. So I'm just doing, I can't remember if it's a row or a up and down or whatever. But one of them, I think, was to show, so Grand Library, I think, was like your biggest piece. So it was either that or with the books. And so that was one. Evening Romance, I am doing, because I think you have to have something either like winter or snow, something like that. So I wanted to pull out Evening Romance and give it a little bit of love. So here is where I am now. And so I'm very happy. This is actually, I think this is either the yellow or maybe over here. But basically right here is the very end of the top page. So this is like one full page and then like one more page, but the page is basically like 10 or 12 stitches wide. It's a partial page. So I'm working both of them together. This is a paper pattern, so it does take a little bit more time. But basically taking colors, and I was taking colors sort of as I found ninja stitches over here, but then pulling them to where it made sense. So there might have been like one stitch over here. And I just, like, if I didn't have thread on my needle, I didn't bother. I'll come back because I can guarantee there are probably, if I have one stitch here, there are probably 10 stitches up here that I've missed. So I'll have a chance to come back to that when it's a little bit less counting. So that is Evening Romance. And I do, for the bingo, the goal is 1,000 stitches, and I only put about 300 in this time. So this is going to get more love this month in order to meet that goal. And then this is my oldest project overall. This is Old World Map from Artisy, the large version. And why are you hiding from me? I'm having issues. Yes, this is correct. I don't know why I'm having issues with directionality on this. Normally I'm an upper left-hand corner starter, but this one I started in the upper right-hand corner, and so I'm going in a different direction, even though anyhow. So just for I had a momentary lapse, but anyhow, most of what I did, and I had a challenge, put in 1,000 stitches of white. So the vast majority of what I put in is this white up top, and then finished. There was some little bit of white down here in the globe as well. So this is the North Pole. I think we've agreed this is sort of Europe, Asia up here. And the reason why we think that is this is pretty clearly Scandinavia. And so then this will make this like North America, Canada. So, and keeping in mind, this is an old world map, so it's not necessarily geographically accurate. But nonetheless, so did a lot of white up here. It's 3865. It's obviously quite hard to see. And then one of in Magical Stitches, they have the DMC challenge, which for now I'm caught up with, but I'm sure I'm going to fall off the bandwagon at some point. But whatever color, it was some yellow color. So that's why I did a little bit of this here as well. So that's the only other thing in. But this is one that I really do enjoy working on it. But sometimes I get a little bit daunted by the white stitches. And so that's what's great about these challenges, is that they sort of force you sometimes, if you choose to participate, force you to work on something that maybe otherwise you wouldn't pick up. And it's not that I wouldn't pick this up, but I probably wouldn't have put in 1,000 white stitches at once. And now I've got that done with, and I can start going in, and I've got a really great basis here. So even though it's now quite a bit of confetti, it's not a lot of counting because I have a really, really great basis to put the stitches in. So that is Old World Map. Next one. This is Little Cake Shop. Artwork by Amy Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Design. This is the max color version. So I'm up here in the ceiling. And so I put in, mostly I was working on the ceiling, so a lot of blue stitches up here, and then I was finding some of the rogue stitches the ninja stitches in the molding, and sort of filling that in. And sort of, obviously that came down, and then a little bit here. But really was focusing on the ceiling and trying to get some good chunks of color, which will make it easier when I do have to go in with a lot of those confetti stitches that are onesies and twosies and fill it in. So that is where I am with Little Cake Shop. Next one is a piece that I would like to get done this year. And this is Huckleberry Farm by the Blue Flower. So this is one I started in late 2020 and just loved the piece, but just it never sort of, again, because I do so much full coverage, it never really jumped out at me and said, pick it up. And so that's why I've made a determination that I want to finish it this year, because then it will give it a lot of love. So what I did, and I picked it up for the first time yesterday for this month. And so I think I had this one in here. So one for me, and then it will say one for the basket. So I didn't quite finish one for the basket. Obviously I have, so I need to fill in asket. And I also want this month to extend at least to the end of the Q-snap, this sort of zigzag with the color fill in. Someone started a group, and there's a number of us in it. We blatantly copied what other Flosstubers have done, or other groups of stitchers have done, where people just individually choose their own project, break it into 12 or whatever they have remaining into 12 parts, and do one part every month with the goal of finishing it by the end of the year. A lot of people will just take the pattern and divide it, like a remaining part, into 12 equal parts. I chose not to do that. I'm going to do this by motif by motif. And so this month I deliberately gave myself lighter stitching. And just because I knew it was a short month and I knew I had some other things I wanted to work on. So I will get back to that sooner rather than later so I can finish out my monthly stitching. All right, and the last piece I have to show you, that is Cats in the Toy Box, artwork by Leslie Ann Ivory, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I'll probably put in a couple thousand stitches since I saw you last. And I use this for 2 prompts for the bingo. So basically sort of attacking it, going back and forth this month, pulling a color from the border and sort of doing it. And the border here does stop because the cat, I haven't started stitching yet, but the cat's tail does sort of come out here and block, not block, but the border goes under the tail. And then picking a color from the cat. So going back and forth between these two. This is very confetti heavy in the border. There's sort of 2 main colors and then lots of confetti stitching in there. The cat is, I don't know if I would call it confetti stitching. It's not, because there's not a huge number of colors, but they're not, it's not block stitching either. You have to pay attention to what you're doing. But I do love the way that the cat is coming in. You can kind of see it there a little bit, the way the top half of the cat looks. And it's coming, before I had most of the block along the spine of the kitty. And now some of the stripes of the tabby are starting to come in. And I probably say this every video, but I am just always amazed by how they do come up with a coloring of a tabby. If I have a tabby, I would love to pick her up and show her to you, but she doesn't like to be picked up to show you what I'm talking about. But if anyone has a tabby, they know what I'm talking about. Just how the colors all sort of come together that end up with that striped look. Because if you looked at like individual hairs on the tabby, it's not like, oh, this is a black hair, this is a gray hair. The hairs themselves have multiple colors in them, and they sort of all have that nice blending. But there's a lot of greens in here, so pale greens or olive green types, like 3363, 3031, something like, not 30, that's brown, 3023 maybe, those kinds of shades of green. But just the way it all sort of blends together, it's really quite incredible to come up with this effect. Sort of gives it, rather than that green tone, gives it a gray tone. And it's really impressive. I think I was working with 647 last night, sort of over here in the lighter part of the kitty. So really enjoying working on this. I'm going to have to force myself to put it down to work on some other things. Usually this is my evening stitch, but I have a few other pieces that haven't gotten any love this month that I want to get some good progress on. So I may have to sacrifice this for a while in order to work on those. But it just makes me love it that much more when I come back to it. All right, so that is all of the stitching I have to show you. So I am now going to move on and show you some Stitchy Kindness. I won a couple of giveaways. So I can dig up the first one. The first one is I won from Sweetwater Stitcher. She's another Florida-based Flosstuber. And so this is Stitching with the Housewives, Trucking Along February. So there's actually 2 patterns in there. It's the truck as well as February. So it's a cute little stitch. And then the other one giveaway I won, I actually through Facebook. Some woman was basically gifting and destashing a lot of fabric that she had. And I was a really lucky recipient. And she had a picture of it, but I didn't really know what it was. And I was just blown away when this box showed up. It was probably like a book box, if you know the size of that, full up to the rim of fabric. There may have been like a couple sheets of tissue paper in there to protect it. But beyond that, it was packed to the brim. And so many amazing fabric, so much amazing fabric in there. It's quilting fabric, not stitching fabric. And then she also, so I'm not going to try and show it all to you. I'm just going to show you a couple pieces in there. Some of it's more remnant, some of it's larger pieces, but it's gorgeous and such generosity. And so I really appreciate that. She also included a couple of needle minders. So a little doggy, a little carousel, and then this one that's a peacock and it actually has like I don't know, rhinestones, but a lot of bling to it. So really, really pretty needle minders. And again, these are just a couple samples of fabric that were in there that just blew me away. So we have this one, these little Christmas moose with the hats and the candy canes and the snowflakes. So that was really pretty. This one here, like the sugar skulls and the roses. This sort of safari print, so giraffes and zebras. And I don't know if that's a cheetah or a leopard or a jaguar. This nice sort of winter one with pine cones, and you can sort of, if I move it, you can kind of see there's like some nice bling on that as well. And then this one here, paneled fabric. I'm not sure how to show the panels exactly. I can come all the way back here. You can sort of see it, but these lovely C panels. And again, this is just a very, very small sampling of what she gave. Absolutely stunning. So really, really fortunate. So thank you so much to the person who had that giveaway. I really appreciate it. And just, again, amazed by the generosity of this community. All right, and then I have and then other pieces of things that I purchased on my own. So my Ocala, which is about 45 minutes away from me, every year she hosts what she calls a garage sale, where she allows people to rent a table and they sell their stash, basically. So really, they're not supposed to be people who have stores or anything, but people who have stash that they no longer want, and they can sell it. Some try and sell it for a market value, which to me, I'm like, what's the point? But some people are just trying to declutter. But the first piece of thing I'm actually going to show you, I don't think this is declutter. I think the store owner actually had her own table there. But this, so this came from hers, but a discounted chart. And this is Turkish Delight from Rosewood Manor. And I've seen this, I've been eyeing this chart for years. And so nothing to do with the candy, just the name, but that's sort of a Turkish red color, but I really do like this. I'm not sure I would do it. Obviously I think that's Aztec red. I believe is a fabric, which can be hard to get. But I have seen some other red fabrics like that. And I do like it this way. I do like it on the bright fabrics. That's the kind of person I am. I like bright fabric. So that was my first purchase. And then another woman, I just got very excited. She had a lot of Mirabilias, some available, some not. But they were, at least one of them she had stitched. And so the charts themselves, I mean, they're fine, but they're not pristine. But I'm okay with that. I like being able to be able to obtain and use stash. So I got 4 Mirabilias. The first one is, this is Shakespeare's Fairies. Or did I already show this one? Maybe, actually, I think I showed this one already. I think this is not from that sale because this is in very good condition. So I think I purchased that a while ago and I just haven't put it away. But the other two I definitely got. Other 3 I actually definitely got from her. So this is the first one. This is Mother's Arms. Get this out the glare. So that's basically a full coverage. Next one I'm sure you're familiar with. Garden Prelude. Again, I'm pretty sure this one is still available, but happy to buy it from her. And then the last one I got, which I was very, very excited to get, was Queen of Freedom. So I've seen a number of people stitching this, and I absolutely love this one. So I was really excited to get it. And then she also had it. You can hear it. I'm not going to show them all to you, but she did it wasn't fully kitted, but it was kitted with the beads and the Greinock. So really excited to have that. Obviously, I will need to go through and make sure it's kitted with every single bead and every cry neck I need, but certainly the vast majority of them are there. And then these I actually purchased probably in January, but I didn't have the covers printed off. So I was not able to show them to you last time, but the Cross Stitch Studio celebrated its 5th year anniversary. And if you're not familiar with the Cross Stitch Studio, she does full coverage patterns. And so to celebrate 5 years, she did a flash sale where everything was 50% off, or almost everything. And so how could I not go take a look? Because she doesn't do sales that often. And I picked up 2 patterns. So the first one is called A Quiet Time. So that lovely, lovely beach scene. I have to say, this is just about my ideal picture of perfect day, sitting on the porch, looking at the ocean. And yes, I am in Florida, but I am nowhere near the ocean. So it's not like something I can just do on a regular basis. Nor will I be buying any waterfront property because I don't want to deal with hurricanes. But just, sort of, you got your cover there because we don't want to get sunburned. But just the ability to sort of sit on a chair and look out at the ocean and have a beautiful blue sky, gentle breeze, keep any mosquitoes and bugs away. This to me is sort of just like perfection of heaven. And then the other piece I purchased, what is this called? Sharing the Gift. So this is just a nice little sort of nicely laid table outside, on a garden veranda. I must have been in a very needing peaceful, serene scenes when I bought both of these. Because of the image that's on there. I didn't feel like I was stressed. But if you're familiar with the Cross Stitch Studio, you know that she has a lot of animals. She has a lot of very lifelike animals. And so she also has a number of these very serene scenes as well. But normally I gravitate towards animals, as you can see from my stitching. So for me to go for sort of the scenes, I must have, for some reason, at that moment that I purchased those, which was probably before I got my caffeine in, because I think I went and purchased them while I was having breakfast. So before the caffeine totally hit me, I needed something that was calming. So those are the ones I bought. No plans to start them immediately, but happy to have them as part of my collection. So that is all I have for the stitching. I do have a couple of recommendations on the book side. So I have 2 books that I've read over the past couple of weeks, which were really, really good. The first one was an older one, Kindred by Octavia Butler. And I did that as an audiobook, and it was read by Kim Staunton. So I think the book actually came out in the late 70s, and this audio version, I believe, was recorded in the late 90s. But it's a very, very well-written book. It's about so again, written in the 70s, it initially starts in the 70s, and it's about a Black woman living in Los Angeles in the 1970s who, for reasons that are totally unclear to her, one moment discovers herself that she has been transported back to the 19th century. And I can't remember if it's Maryland or Virginia. I can't remember which one. But in a slave-owning state in the U.S. South, pre-Civil War. And so... and she goes, and and when she goes, she finds that there's a boy who is drowning. And so she pulls this white boy out of the river where he is drowning and saves him. And then she ends up going back and forth to, she somehow goes back to her present day. And then she ends up getting pulled back back to basically this boy is calling her. And so the boy becomes a man, and it's very interesting. I'm not a huge science fiction fan, so books like this I tend to avoid. It's really not, there's a little bit of science fiction because you have to sort of explain what's happening, but there's no science to the science fiction. And it's just really a tool for her to take a modern day person and drop them into the past, and how do they fight to survive in that past, but then also have someone who has the perspective that we have. I mean, again, 50 years ago now, but the perspective that we have, and our views on slavery, but then also the views of people who accept that this is what is, and it's not that they're not fighting for freedom or things like that, but that it's just, this is our life, the day-to-day, and how do we get through and survive. Very, very well written. And I really, really enjoyed both the writing of the book as well as the narration of the book. So glad I had a chance to read that. And the other book that I really enjoyed was Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This is a contemporary book about and it's got sort of three stories, which are link up pretty quickly. But one is a retired widow, and who is working as a cleaner in an aquarium, not because she needs to, but because she wants to. And then also about a sort of drifting sort of 30-year-old who's in a band, and he's a smart guy, but he can't hold down a job. He works in construction, but he keeps getting fired. And he goes on sort of, he has no idea what's happened to his mother, but he goes on basically he's given something of his mother's, his mother, he hadn't seen her since he was like 9. He's given something, and he thinks he knows who his father is. And so he decides he's going to go confront his father. So he goes to the town where this widower lives, and ends up working with her in the aquarium. And then the third character is an octopus named Marcellus, who is the remarkably bright creature, who lives in the aquarium, and just sort of, and he doesn't talk to them. He doesn't have a human voice, but he talks to us, the reader. And so, sort of sometimes a bit skeptical, but the writer does a really great job. So 2 books that I recommend if you're interested. And then the one television show I have to recommend is called Accused. This is originally based off a British show, although this is a remake done for American audiences. And basically every episode is a different story. So completely different cast, no linkages between the stories, at least, I've only watched 3 or 4, not that I've seen, but amazing, amazing cast. Just some brilliant actors are working on these pieces. And basically it usually starts maybe not with a trial or a court proceeding, but that's part of it. But that's where it starts. And then you're sort of getting the backstory about what led up to that either trial or court proceeding. How did they get there? What led to the circumstances of them being arrested? And and then you do sort of see the outcome, whether there's an actual trial or it's just they're determining if they can indict the person or if the person, whatever the issue is, you do see that outcome as well. Very, very well done. While it is based on the British show, it is the stories are very American, and I'm glad of that because I think it's great to give a nod to the original creators, but when you take a storyline like that, you have to, even though the US and the UK are very closely aligned culturally in certain ways, in other ways they're not. And so I think it's important to adapt the story to your audience, and they've done a great job with that. I don't know who exactly is. I want to say it's a Fox show, so I think that's where you can see it. We watch everything through streaming these days, and my husband has control of the remote. So it's sort of, if he says, "Oh, can you put this on?" I'm sort of like a deer in the headlights because I have no idea what broadcast on what channel. If it's not YouTube and the Flosstubes that I watch, I have a hard time finding it. So anyhow, with all that said, that is all I have for you today. I hope that you all are doing well, and I hope to come back either late February, early March. Until then, happy stitching. Bye.